English. Are you ready?
Yes.
What time did you start today?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Ah, so you must be very tired already. Yeah. Very tired already. And now you get to listen to me in English for 1 hour. So maybe at 2 o'clock, maybe you'll be very tired. So, summer in Tokyo is very hot. So in the summer, I just sleep all summer. That's it. Today, it's very rare. It's very rare that I leave the house in summer. So you're very lucky. Anyway, so first of all, thank you to Misao-san for inviting me here today. Thank you. So, do you know who I am? That's a good question. I speak English, of course. English is my first language. I speak Japanese as a second language. And importantly, for today, I don't speak French at all. You probably studied English at junior high school, maybe high school, university, whatever, in Japan. You studied English. Well, I lived in the UK, grew up in the UK, so we studied French. 5 years. I studied French for 5 years. And I can say in French, je ne parle pas français. I don't understand French. Finished. Pointless. 5 years, and I can say, I don't speak French. I don't understand French. French classes in the UK, maybe very similar to Japanese junior high school English classes. We have a textbook, we studied grammar rules. We memorized grammar rules. Determiner plus noun plus adjective. You can make the sentence. But I couldn't make the sentence at all. And when in my 3rd year of junior high school, I went on a homestay. I went to France and I stayed with a French family for a homestay. I couldn't speak a word of French. Couldn't speak French, didn't understand French. Had no idea what was going on. Luckily for me, my host mother was really good at English. And here was me. I was a terrible student. I didn't study, I didn't do my homework, I didn't like French. I went on a homestay because I thought, great, 2 weeks holiday, 2 weeks off school, no classes. So I went for a bad reason. I didn't speak French, I didn't understand French. My host mother spoke English. Great, no problem. So my host mother thinks, who is this British guy? He's either lazy, or he's stupid, or both. I don't know, but very quickly she realized I wasn't going to speak French, so she spoke English. She spoke very good English, but over the 2 weeks, I started to notice, although she spoke very fluent English, English that was very easy to understand, it was kind of strange. It wasn't the same as the English that we spoke in England. It wasn't the words. The words were fine. Her grammar was fine. Pronunciation, no problem. I couldn't understand what is wrong, what is strange about her English. And I never understood at that time why her English was different until, how many years later? 6 years later, when I came here. I came to Japan. I came to Japan on a working holiday. I didn't plan to live here. I lived in the UK. I went to university, graduated university, didn't know what to do. So I thought, okay, I'll go to Japan, working holiday, spend a year in Japan. I didn't speak Japanese when I came here, so I got a job teaching English. And again, I started to notice that my students, even though they spoke great English, their English was different, not the same to British people. Then I met people from America, from Canada, from all over the world. And I noticed again that these people in America, the way they speak English is different to the way that we speak English in the UK. And this really interested me. I kind of thought, what is it? What is different? And then one day I realized that the big difference was not the words, was not the phrases, the pronunciation, the grammar, but the culture. Not the language, but what happens in here, the way that we think. When I did the French homestay, my homestay mother was an excellent English speaker, but she was a French thinker. Her thinking was based on French culture, French values, French ideals, the French way of living life. When I came to Japan, here it's the same. You're all Japanese, I think. Your values are based on Japanese values, Japanese culture, Japanese knowledge. And that is different to the way that we use English or think in the UK, in America, in, say, India, the Philippines, wherever in the world you go. We all think in a different way. So to put things simply, in order to speak a language well, in order to speak a language effectively in an international situation, just having language is not enough. Just knowing words, vocabulary, grammar, phrases is not enough. You need more than that. Several months ago, no, what months ago? A year ago now, a year and a half ago now, my bicycle that I had been riding for 5-6 years broke. I banged the front wheel into the side of the wall and it bent, and that was it, finished. I took it to the bike shop and I said, "Can you fix this for me?" And they said, "No, it'll cost more money to fix than you paid for the bike, so you should just buy a new bike." So I thought, okay, it's time to buy a new bicycle. And who is from Tokyo? Let's have a show of hands again. Who is from Tokyo? Oh, only one person. Two people. No. Is anybody familiar with the area Yanaka? Yanaka. Near Nishinipori. Near Nishinipori. About 10-15 minutes walk from Nishinipori station. Yanaka is my favorite part of Tokyo. It's a very interesting area. Lots of very old, traditional buildings that they kept, that survived. They've restored them, and it's a very, very beautiful area. And in Yanaka, there's a bike shop called Tokyo Bike that looks really cool on the outside. So I'd walked past this place many, many, many times. So when I needed to buy a new bike, I thought, aha, I know where I'll go. I'll go to this place in Yanaka. My bike before then was just a normal mamachari type bike. Yeah, just a normal bike. I'd never had an expensive bike. I'd never ridden a road bike, a nice bike. So I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect when I went in. But I thought, yeah, it's a bike. I'll go in the shop, I'll buy a bike, and I'll cycle it home. No. I'm confronted with the bike shop assistant. And she says to me, "Hi, can I help you?" Of course, the conversation is in Japanese. So I thought, it's no problem, no problem. I discussed with her, said I want to buy a bike. And she starts to ask me, what kind of bike do you want? What sort of bike? What sort of handlebars do you want? What kind of wheels do you want? What kind of frame do you want? Suddenly there are all these options and different ways to build the bike. And the discussion just got more and more and more and more difficult. And suddenly I have no idea what she's talking about anymore. I thought just buy a bike, go home. But no, actually you have to choose all the parts and they custom build it for you. And then 2 weeks later, you collect the bike and then you can take it home. In order to have this discussion about the bike, I needed language. Of course, if you don't have language, if you don't have the words and the phrases and the expressions that you need to say the things that you want to say, then you can't speak. You can't say something if you don't have the word. If I don't know that this is a bottle, I can only say this thing. You need language, of course, but it's just the beginning. You also need knowledge. And for me in this situation, I lacked knowledge. I knew nothing about bikes. I don't know how a bike works. I don't know how a bike is put together. You have the straight handlebars, and then you have the handlebars that kind of curve. I don't even know what those are called. What's the difference? Why are they curved? What do they do? How do you use them? When they asked me, how many gears do you need? I don't know. Gears? 2? 10? 100? I don't know. I don't know. What is the difference between 4 gears and 12 gears? I couldn't talk about it because I didn't know about it. The lady asked me about Bradley Wiggins. Do you know who Bradley Wiggins is? No, I didn't know either. Apparently, he's a very famous British cyclist, British champion. I didn't know that. So here's me with this Japanese shop assistant. Oh yeah, Bradley Wiggins. Yeah. No idea what he's talking about. I don't know. Then of course there's the culture. People who really love cycling. It's a culture. Cycle enthusiasts have their own way of talking. They have their own slang, their own phrases and expressions to talk about bikes. And then, of course, there's the country's culture to do with cycling as well. We don't need to get into that. Road laws, for example, in Japan are totally different to England. In England, you can't cycle on the pavement. Everybody must cycle on the road. They must wear a helmet. It's very different to Japan. It's a part of culture as well. So that situation went quite horribly wrong. I couldn't have the conversation well, not because of language, not just because of language, but because I didn't have the knowledge that I needed, because I didn't have the understanding of the culture that I needed. Culture is the big one. Culture is the difficult part. This is where things get really tricky in my experience. When you make a mistake with your language, if I make a grammar mistake or I use the wrong word, generally people don't actually care that much. I mean, native speakers make mistakes all the time with their own language. We really don't care that much about pronunciation mistakes or grammar mistakes. Cultural mistakes, on the other hand, are quite different. Cultural mistakes are where people get upset. Cultural mistakes are what start war. Understanding people's culture, I believe, is the most important part of learning a language and using a language well. What is culture? Culture is very, very complicated. In one way, it's very simple, but in another way, it's very complicated. If you imagine like a pair of glasses that have pink lenses, I put these glasses on, and suddenly the whole world turns pink. The world looks hot and passionate and romantic. And then I take the pink glasses off and I change them for a blue pair. Suddenly the world looks very different. It's the same world. I'm looking at the same people in the same place, but now they look cold, icy, maybe a little bit depressed, like Picasso's blue paintings. Again, same world, very different ways of looking. I call these glasses with the coloured lenses your culture glasses. The only difference is that the culture glasses that you are wearing now were put on when you were born, and you can never take them off. You can try to take them off, and you can change them, but you can never completely remove them. Basically, everything that you say, when you speak English, you say it through your own culture, through your own understanding, with your own cultural glasses. But when I hear what you've said, I understand it not with your culture, but with my culture. And this is where communication breakdowns tend to happen. Because you say one thing, meaning one thing, I understand it in a totally different way. I mean, humor. Humor is the perfect example. If you've ever tried to make a joke in English, it probably doesn't work. I remember when I was first in Japan, I was working at a secondary school, and I was walking to work one morning with an umbrella. It was pouring down with rain outside. It was horrible. It was wet and it was cold. The weather was terrible. One of the teachers was stood by the gate at the school, and I said in Japanese, "Good morning, lovely weather today." And she looked at me just like, "What? What are you talking about? Lovely weather." But I felt very embarrassed because I realized, this humor doesn't translate well. In the UK, however, that's how we speak. British people are very ironic, quite sarcastic. When it's sunny outside, we complain. "Oh, the weather's too hot, it's terrible today." When it's cold and wet outside, we say, "Oh, wow, the weather's amazing today." Everything is said ironically, with a kind of backwards meaning. That doesn't translate well into Japanese because we have different culture glasses. When I said it understanding that I'm saying it in an ironic, humorous way. Weather is terrible today, so I'll say it's great today. Doesn't make any sense if you don't know that. And to the teacher I spoke to, it didn't make any sense. Humor is hard. Humor doesn't translate well. But it's not just humor. It goes much, much, much deeper than that. What we think of as common knowledge, joshiki, common sense, actually isn't common at all. Because actually your common knowledge is totally different to my common knowledge. For example, in Japan, it took me a very long time to get used to the fact that Japanese people go to the doctors very often. You catch a cold, got a sore throat, go to the doctor. The doctor greets me with a smile. "Oh, you've got a sore throat. Oh, you must be feeling really bad. Let's write a prescription of medicine for you. take this medicine and you'll feel better. That's how things are done in Japan. In the United Kingdom, if you go to your GP, your general practitioner, your doctor, with a cold, he'll say, "What are you doing here? Don't waste my time. Don't come here with a cold. Go home, sleep. What do you expect me to do about it? Medicine for a cold? The best medicine is sleep. Just go home." Very, very different way of doing things. Of course, it's to do with the different systems. The British medical system is public and the Japanese is privatized, and but it's all a part of the culture, different ways of doing things. In Germany, and I think Japan as well, Germany and Japan tend to be very similar culturally, by the way. In Germany, time is absolutely fixed. If I say 1 p.m., I mean 1 p.m. My children, however, went to the Indian International School in Kotoku, quite close to here. When they say 1 p.m. at the Indian school, they mean it could be 12 p.m., it could be 3 p.m., it's just, it's some time early afternoon. Time is totally flexible in Indian culture, to the point where it drove us absolutely insane. They'd have a sports day. What time does sports day start? 10 a.m. You get there at 10 a.m. and there's nobody there. Because when they say we're starting at 10 a.m., they mean we're starting sometime late morning, when people eventually arrive. This is all to do with the culture, and it affects the way that you communicate. Because if you are doing business with somebody from India and they say 10 o'clock, do they mean 10 o'clock? Maybe yes, but maybe no. It's something that you've got to check. Whereas if you're Indian and you do business with people in Germany, it would be very silly, very, very silly to keep your own culture and to ignore the way the Germans do things. Humor, I've already talked about that. Conversation style as well is also another very important part of culture. We don't really have time to go into this in detail, but I've kind of squeezed in a little chart here. This is from a great book that everybody should read called The Culture Map. It's not written on here, but it will be linked in the resources. The Culture Map by Erin Meyer is a must-read book. Basically, Japanese is what we call a high-context culture. Have you ever heard that before? No? If a culture or if a language is high context, it means you need a high level of context to understand it. Japanese is actually the highest context language in the world, meaning you can't understand what people mean without an understanding of the context. Incidentally, American English, not British English. British English is closer to Japanese, not much, but closer. American English is actually the lowest context culture in the world, meaning what American people say is exactly what they mean. It's very clear. We say this, we mean this. Great example of this. Anybody familiar with Nikki's Kitchen? Nikki's Kitchen. It's actually, it might only be in Tokyo. I'm not sure if it's outside of Tokyo or not. Nikki's Kitchen is an online, it's a cooking school, basically. The way she set it up is people can book cooking classes with people from all over the world. And you go to their house and they teach you how to cook. A friend of mine is from Sri Lanka, and she's one of the teachers for them. So people can book online, I want to learn Sri Lankan cooking. So I'm going to go to this person's house, and I'm going to have a cooking lesson, and then I'm going to go home, and that's it. She started this business originally because people kept saying to her, her foreign friends kept saying, I want to make friends with Japanese people. But when I say to Japanese people, next time, come to my house sometime, I'll cook for you, they always say, yeah, I'd love that. But they never come. Why not? But of course, when people in Japan say, please come to our house next time, 今度うちに遊びに来てください. It's not necessarily meant literally. Whereas if you say to an American person or a British person, come to our house next time, I pull out my diary. Oh, okay, I'm free next Saturday. Ooh, that's not what I meant at all. And Nikki's Kitchen started because she noticed that foreign people got very upset about this. People would say, come to our house. I want to share Sri Lankan cooking with you. People would say, yeah, sure, I'll come, but never come. And then people would say to them, come to ours next time, and say, yeah, I'd love to. But then the chance to go would never come. So Nikki's Kitchen was a business built around that. But it's a perfect example of how this kind of high context culture, low context culture works in language. You have to know that when somebody in Japan says, come to our house sometime, it's not a direct invitation to come next week. But if you're in America and somebody says that to you, they actually want you to come to their house. It's all a part of the culture of language. So really the message that I want to share there is learn the culture of the people that you use English with. And more than worrying about grammar mistakes or pronunciation, that is far more effective for international communication. We've got 10 minutes left, which is just right for questions. Does anybody have any questions?